What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Side Eye Podcast again. Really excited for this episode. I shared a little teaser yesterday. Really enjoyed catching up with Bennett and the conversation and things we were able to talk about. Before we get into the episode real quick, though, I did also want to share some exciting news. The podcast has the first sponsor for the podcast, and it's a local Utah company called Steadfast. It's energy drinks, a lot cleaner than typical energy drinks. It has probiotics in it. I really like them a lot. And we featured them on the episode with Logan. So Logan Humphrey is the one that introduced me to them, and met with the owner uh, this week actually, and talked about it with him. And yeah, so they're going to be coming on as a sponsor. So I'll be ready to see a lot more about Steadfast. And yeah, excited to get into the episode. Bennett, how are you doing?
Doing all right, Joe. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm really, really excited for this. And I'm happy that I don't know if you know, you were actually the second person to fill out that form when I posted it. And yeah, you were one of the early ones. So I'm glad we were finally able to make this work.
Yeah, of course. Excited to be here.
Yeah, and so little background. I don't know how much you know about the podcast. It's still pretty new and fresh and everything. So I like to just give a little background at the beginning of each episode so everybody kind of knows what's going on. Originally, what I was going to do with it was, I'm from BV, from Buena Vista, and teeny tiny town, like 6,000 people. So growing up LDS and an athlete, my exposure was next to nothing. And so I had started to think about my podcast, and I'd had it a few years ago, and it had been all about my family. And I was talking to Mo, and I was like, hey, you know what? I want to do a podcast and feature LDS athletes and get kids more exposure. And then we decided we were moving to Utah. So I was like, perfect. It's going to be great. And then in like 2 or 3 episodes in, I noticed it had shifted like completely. And it's less, I shouldn't even say less, not really at all about featuring LDS athletes anymore, but more about now, how do you balance faith and athletics and all of those things in your life that may be stressors when you feel pulled too far one direction. And in that way, I'm trying to more so help youth, which, again, being in Utah, hopefully this will get some regional exposure or something like that. And I don't know how all the algorithms work, but, something where it's just more focused on how do we find balance and how do we continue with those passions in our lives. And hopefully the goal is to help some kids, help some young adults, help some old adults, just help people in general. So that's kind of what we're doing now. If you still want to be on the podcast, I've got some questions.
I'd love to still be on the podcast.
Perfect. I love it. So with all that in mind, I would really like to dive into your story, because even for as long as we've known you, I don't really know a lot about your pre-SVU background, right? And so the specific question that I had was, what was life like for you growing up you're from Pennsylvania, right?
Was in Maryland until I was about 16, then I moved to Pennsylvania.
Okay, so Maryland and Pennsylvania, that's actually perfect. So what was it like then as a young LDS athlete in Maryland and Pennsylvania, knowing you were going to be good enough to go play in college, but also having the faith aspect of it all? What was that like for you as a teenager?
Yeah, so excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with one thing you just said, which is I did not believe I was going to be good enough to play in college, believe it or not.
Okay.
So the way that actually went is it's kind of funny because I got cut from my freshman team, didn't try out sophomore year, moved going into my junior year, tried out,
Okay.
made it but didn't really play. and then senior year made it again, didn't really play. So
Really?
yes. So what happened is obviously no one was going to give me any attention. So I had gone to, I don't remember what it was, something at SB. It might have been like an EFY or something. But
Okay.
I went there and I actually met Coach Caputo at the time, and he was chatting. And the more we talked, he basically said, "Well, I'm running an ID camp this summer, or whenever it was. It might have been the following summer, whenever it was." He said, "I'm running an ID camp, and do you want to come down? Maybe we can check you out. The coaches can watch you, et cetera, et cetera." And so I did. And then at the end of that week, he said, basically, "Are you interested in coming out to play this next year?" So that would now at that same camp were several guys that you know,
Yeah.
Kale there,
Yep.
No, Aaron not there. That was Kale Thornton, Austin Wood, and Taylor Larson.
Yep.
Oh, and Alec Johnson. The five
Oh
of
my
us were all
gosh.
there. So
Yeah.
it turned out to be a pretty good camp. A lot of talent there.
Oh, yeah.
So went down to that, and then afterwards they said, "We'll see you in the summer if you're coming, or in the fall if you're coming." And so that's how that all started.
Man, I love that. I love that. That was one of my other questions was how did you get into SVU? How did you look into that? And um man, that's fascinating. Yeah, I had no idea all of that. That camp, that group, goodness, that was a fun group. That was a fun
Yeah, it
group.
was. It really was.
Yeah.
But back to I think the other part of your question was how
Yeah.
did I balance that in high school?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the easiest way I could possibly say this is a lot of the standards that we teach or that we learn in the church, a lot of those things that we're expected to uphold, those are just decisions I had made long before even getting to that point in the first
Mm,
place. So,
sure.
I obviously there's minor things about growing up in the church that seem crazy to people who are not in the church. When I tell people I wouldn't drink, they just acted so just flabbergasted. But it was not that weird to me. It's a decision I made a long time before that. It was not
Sure.
something I even thought about at that point. And also, it's kind of funny that alcohol is the one drug that people think you're weird if you don't do it. But anyway, but things like that, other standards of morality that we all talk about, just the overall kind of integrity that comes with living the gospel.
Mm,
It was really not. It was difficult to deal with the backlash I got, but it was not difficult to make those decisions in the first place.
sure. Okay, no, that's a good point. That's a great point. Is that something you'd be willing to dive into a little bit more? Just because some of the guys that I've talked to like are from Utah, and so backlash isn't really a thing. Or I just spoke with Jake McMahon last week, and he was Catholic, and then they got baptized. So like for him, he didn't really get like a lot of backlash because it was a different kind of situation. I would love to hear more about kind of how you dealt with that. Again, if you're willing to jump into that.
Yeah. So the culture of the school I went to, and frankly, the culture of basketball at the time,
Sure.
it's like it too. Let's just be honest with ourselves. The culture around basketball sometimes be a little. I don't even know what the term is, off the path, so to speak. And
There you
so
go. That works.
let's put it nicely. So obviously, my social life with my teammates was basically non-existent because they're the things that they wanted to do, and they're the things that I was not going to do. I was not going to budge
Sure.
on it.
Sure.
I'm actually I'm really glad I didn't because there were several times. This is high school, mind you. Several times in high school that I remember teammates coming in after you know a weekend to just get schmacked, and they're still coming off of it. And I'm not. Not suggesting that it made me play better or anything. Well, I mean, it did make me play better, but I also just wasn't
Right.
suffering in the same way that
Right.
they were.
Right.
No, I'm really not
Yeah.
jealous of you, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that might make me sound like high and mighty or whatever. But it's just something I didn't want to deal with. But obviously, social life with them was not really there, and it was tough. I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't, because your teammates are supposed to be the guys that become your friends for the rest of your life.
Right,
And
right.
uh, it just kind of felt, it was tough that I wasn't going to get that. But ultimately, I knew that at some point the decisions I was making were going to pay off, and they did. There's I'm very happy with the way my life turned out compared to some of those other guys. I'm not going to
Sure.
air their dirty laundry or anything, but
Right, 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 right.
I think we all know people that made some poor decisions and turned out a little differently than maybe they'd hoped or that we'd hoped. But I've been very I've been very grateful that the gospel has helped me in the long run. It was tough to see at the time, but there's really no question about it that that's the reason for really any of the good in my life at this point.
Yeah. I love that. I like something that you said too, that said the other guys, maybe their lives didn't turn out the way they wanted. And then you also said, or maybe the way that we wanted. Right. And I think that that's an important thing to think about too, is that maybe for some of those guys, they are living the life that they did want. But we have this more eternal perspective of things, and we're able to see, hey, one different decision changes your whole life. Right. So I
Mhm.
like that perspective as well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's one of the things that I'm noticing more and more. And basketball still is the same way, but more and more with all sports in general, is just that kids are just bombarded, bombarded when they're athletes. And it can be something as small as like, you have a game on Sunday. Are you going to go to church, or are you going to go to a game? But then it can be things as big as like, oh, the team's having a party and there's going to be alcohol and there's going to be other stuff. And they have to make those decisions too. And it's all the time. And it's even out here. It's even out here in Utah, which I guess surprised me a little bit, but I shouldn't have been surprised necessarily. I mean, it's all over the place, right? That influence is
Mhm.
always going to be everywhere. Uh, but yeah, no, I appreciate the insight and the experiences. I think. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, and this is probably, if any youth athletes are listening to this right now or will be listening to this,
Hopefully.
it it's a I'm trying to say this without sounding preachy. Growing
Sometimes you
up,
have to be a little preachy.
because I really hated being kind of preached to growing up and made me kind of feel
Sure.
belittled, all that. But I'm just kind of leveling with all those guys out there. I realize it is very hard to see the benefits in the long run in the
Mm,
moment.
yeah.
You almost never do.
Yeah.
But for whatever it's worth coming from me, it is, you know, it's the smart thing to do. Just make the decision ahead of time and stick with it.
Mhm.
And trust me, it is going to be worth it. And you are going to see that at some point. It may be 5 years from now, it might be 10 years from now, but you're going to see it. And not to scare you into making, yeah, not try to motivate through fear or anything, because that's not a good motivator. It's really not. It's not a sustainable one anyway.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah.
but staying close to the Lord and staying close to the gospel, it makes so much of a difference that you don't even realize it's going to at this point.
Mm,
So
yeah.
trust that it will, because it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. And like you said, not trying to motivate through fear, but like I'm 35 almost, and I can promise anyone listening to this podcast, the bad stuff's going to come regardless. It's going to come regardless. And so, like you were saying, it's making those decisions early and making the decisions beforehand so that when it happens, it's not even a question. I love that. I love that. Okay. Um, so you talked a little bit about SVU and the ID camp and going in the fall. One of the other questions I want to ask was kind of what made you decide on SVU and how did that go? So you already kind of jumped into it a little bit. Was there more in that decision? Um, what was that kind of process like for you?
So there were a couple of motivating factors. One was frankly to continue a basketball career. It was kind of a revenge tour because I kind of felt
Sure.
I was feeling sorry for myself and I was blaming everybody else and I was angry at everybody else around me. I was angry at my coaches. I was angry at my teammates because I didn't feel like any of them treated me well, which
Mm,
maybe they didn't, but also I'm not naive enough to think that none of it was me. But at the same time,
sure.
what I felt coming out of there was basically just anger at everybody, and I kind of wanted revenge. So when Coach Caputo gave me the opportunity, I jumped and I said, you know what, this is a good move. I also, for a variety of other reasons, academically, I didn't think I was going to do well on a giant, out
Mm,
of class.
yeah,
They were,
yeah.
yeah. I tell the story all the time to people who wonder about going to a small school. One morning I overslept and my professor actually called me and he calls me, he goes, "Hey dude, we got a test today. Are you coming?" I was like, "Oh crap. On my way." And he goes, all right, you're good. Be safe. I'll hold
Man.
it for you." And so
Yeah.
I showed
Who was it?
her, it's Professor Gardner, the biology professor.
Gardner?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
his son and I were like best friends growing up.
oh really?
That's
Like,
awesome. He's one of the few that I could see doing that. Hey, we have a test. Are you coming to
yeah,
the test?
yeah. But then there was also guys like, you know, Jan Eric Jones, who
Oh,
would I think he felt a little extra sympathy towards the basketball team because he was a player.
yeah.
I don't remember where he
He's
played.
still so good.
Is he?
But yeah. So he was a young men's leader for me, and he would just own us on Wednesdays after mutual. We'd play, and he would just like it wasn't even fun sometimes because he could just do anything he wanted. He was still so he could still dunk in a suit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. No, he was awesome. He's awesome. Sorry to interrupt you there though.
No, no, you're fine. But I literally sat in his office for like an hour going over stuff that I was just having the worst time trying to wrap my head around for that class.
Yeah.
I walked out of there completely understanding it, and I was like, "This guy's a wizard. I don't get it."
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yep.
he took the time to do that. I was like, "What are the odds I would have done that at BYU
Yeah.
or at Penn State or at
Right.
University, wherever it would have been?" So that was that was something I had thought about before SVU and thought it would be a good thing. Turned out to be way better than I thought it would.
Sure.
I think it was overall a good fit for me. I think it was the right thing at the right time. And yeah, there's a lot of things about it that still frustrated me, but at the same time, I think overall was probably the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. So yeah, because so I kind of want to move into mission for a little bit. And unlike I would assume most of the people who will watch the podcast or listen to it, or me and Mo, we knew pre-mission Bennett and we know post-mission Bennett. Right? Everyone listening to this is just getting post-mission Bennett. So for us, I know it was amazing to see who you became post-mission. And not to say that like you were a little crap stick before, right? But like
I was.
just the
We could say,
just the difference in maturity levels from being a responsible 19-year-old that like we would invite over to our house and we felt comfortable inviting over to really turning into like more of a man and all of that. And not just the mission experience, but one of the things that I like to ask athletes, especially due to the nature of the podcast, is, you know, going to school to play sports and making the decision to go on a mission. How was that for you in terms of like, having to, I don't know if maybe it's a little bit easier with basketball, right? But like for me, a soccer player, I had to give up my sport for 2 years. Like I knew I was going to have to do that. And what is that kind of like in terms of part of the decision process? And then we can jump into the other mission questions.
yeah, it was luckily, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier that I'm probably going to say a couple more times on this podcast, but it's a decision I'd made when I was very young. And it's, I also was fortunate enough to be surrounded by people who were encouraging of it and also
Mm,
people one thing I wish I would have gotten more of, but I did get luckily, which is part of the reason I ended up going on the mission in the first place. I had a few people who made it not sound so scary or sound like such a chore
Sure.
because everyone talks about it like it's some nightmare and it's going to be, it's going to be so hard and it's going to be just miserable at times and blah blah blah. And you can't play your sport anymore and you're going to be worse when you get back and all this other stuff.
Right, right.
And thinking to myself, you guys are not doing a very good job of marketing this thing. You're gonna
Right, right.
you want you're telling me to do this and you're also simultaneously telling me how bad it is. I'm
Yeah.
shocked people are hesitant. But
Yeah, yeah.
luckily I had the right people. Funny enough, I mean, Professor Jones isn't going to remember this, but he was one of those guys that kind of helped me flip that switch. Be like, you know what, I'm probably going to be fine. You know,
I love that.
this guy did it, and he turned out okay.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of other guys who have done the same thing, but he talked about it like it wasn't so, like it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Always got bombarded with how hard it was. He was just like, yeah, it's gonna be good. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna learn a lot of good stuff. You meet a lot of really
Yeah.
nice people,
Yep.
and you're gonna be happy.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's awesome.
great, okay.
I love him. I love him. Apparently, per my parents, and I don't know how factual it is because parents will always tell you nice things, but apparently he does watch the occasional clip. So we'll have to do a little formal shout out for him, and I'll tag him in it.
Well, frankly, I don't know if he's even gonna remember me, but I remember that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. They're an awesome couple. Anyways, yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, so then talk to me a little bit about your mission, right? Because you served in Alabama,
I did.
which I don't know if this is even relevant or not. I don't hear about a lot of people going to serve in Alabama, and you know, so Mo's sister Rosie served down in Louisiana for a couple of transfers. She was a Temple Square missionary, so she got to do her outbound, and she went to Louisiana. And she loved it. She loved being like deep south, right? So for you, you go Maryland, Pennsylvania, deep south. What was that like? I mean, how? And I'm sure we could sit here for hours and chit chat back and forth about our missions, but if I can pinpoint it more, I guess, how has your mission still affected you today? What are the things you've learned from your mission that you're still using today? And I guess the pros, right? The mission pitch, kind of like you were saying, like President Jones gave to you. How has yours reinforced that to give to other kids?
Well, I can give a few. A couple of them probably will be harder to kind of conceptualize until you. Well, how do I explain this? Some of it, maybe some of these guys won't totally understand until maybe they get a little bit older and they see the benefit.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I learned, first off, I was a shy kid. I could
yeah.
not.
Yes,
Yeah,
you were.
you remember that? My
Yes, you
yeah,
were.
I felt like I only knew English, but English was still my second language somehow. And I but I went out and my first mission president, I had two, both for
Okay.
exact actually, yeah, on the day of my year mark, I think is when my first one went home. But
Wow,
yeah, it's exactly a year with both of them. One of them,
that's
the
cool.
first one um, was a he's an entrepreneur. He worked in business. He worked in sales a lot, and so big thing that he taught us, not necessarily because not like the dark side of sales or the shady
Sure.
side of often hear about, but he tried to teach us a lot of the useful sales
Yeah.
tricks that would
Yep.
help us as a missionary. Now, we weren't trying to necessarily. I don't like thinking of selling the gospel because that makes
Agreed.
just a
Agreed.
weird.
Yep.
But you still have to present it well. The ability to speak clearly, concisely. That the first, I think one of the first things he taught us was how to stand at a door. He said, keep your
Mm,
feet, hands out of your pockets, upright, look at them,
yep.
look them in the
Yep.
eyes. And that was actually a big help because it's the weirdest thing
Yeah.
when you posture and you firmly plant your feet on the ground, you actually feel, I felt a little more confident just doing that. I thought, ooh, this is weird. But uh, he taught us to be effective communicators, which is a skill that has greatly benefited me over the years because you have to not only do clearly, but you also have to be polite. You have to be able to kind of read people. You have to be able to read a room. You have to. There's a certain emotional intelligence that comes with that, and
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
something that was huge. Also, this is a small one. This is specific to my mission, but in deep South, everyone is sir or ma'am unless they say otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
So you come back, and I'm saying it to all these people who've never lived down there. They're like, "What? Whoa, this guy's so polite, such a
Such
gentleman."
manners.
Yeah, such man. And I'm like, I didn't realize it was that impressive.
Yeah.
But
That's how my life was for 2 years.
yeah, exactly. It just drilled into our heads that that's just what you do.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But anyway, all that to say, I think probably the maybe not the biggest one, but the most frequently used skill that I learned was to be an effective communicator. And now, as a coach, it served me even more because that's what coaching is. It's effective communication.
Yep. Yep.
So that was one. Learned how to learned how to, as weird as this sounds, learned how to learn.
Yeah. No, not weird at all.
It's
Absolutely.
yeah. It was also, I was not a reader. I was never really a reader before for the
Right.
mission, but when you when you don't really have access to the other kinds of entertainment,
Mhm.
reading actually, when you find something you like,
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yep.
So I remember getting, you know, was I technically supposed to do this? I don't know, but honestly, it turned out well in the end, so I don't really care. But I got one of the areas I served in, the a member of the branch, a very small branch, but a member of the branch. He and his wife, they had a son who was an Air Force special operator in Afghanistan. He died in action, and I got his biography. And
Wow.
they gave me a copy of his biography, and
Sure.
it was and it actually was taught. It talked a lot about his faith and how
Mm.
he basically, a lot of the questions you're asking me right now. It was a lot about his journey on that. Yeah, the world of athletics is one thing, and the world of war is another.
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm around it. I work with Air Force Special Warfare, so I talk to these guys all the time, and they're all great people, but having the kind of moral compass that this gentleman had, and the kind of faith that he had, quite obviously, just through reading his book, it wasn't by him, but his biography
Sure. Sure.
was it really hit me pretty hard. And I thought, wow, this is the kind of difference this stuff makes.
Yeah.
So, but I
What?
I never would have read a book that long if I wasn't in that
Mm.
position.
Sure.
So
Sure.
and
Sure.
if I hadn't been put in the mental state to be able to learn from it and actually take things from it. So the ability to
Yeah.
learn was actually a really big.
Love that. Do you remember the name of the biography off the top of your head? We can pitch that in here
It
too.
was, oh goodness. The the name of the book itself, I don't remember, but Mark Forrester is the gentleman's name.
Mark
He was
Forrester.
the
Okay.
yeah, senior airman Mark Forrester.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, that I think that's a really, really big one too, is learning how to learn. And it's it's big because everyone learns differently, but there are so many other similarities in learning. Like learning itself is a very standard process, but how you do it is going to be different. I mean, behind me, I've got, one, two, three, I've got like ten books on my bookshelf, right? And those are all ones that I've read and I love. And then upstairs, I've got like 200 books in tubs that I haven't read because I don't love, but I have them. Right? But I don't love them, so I haven't read them. But yeah, everyone learns differently, and that's huge on your mission too. Like you were saying, you're so limited by your what's the word? I think you said like entertainment, right? But just what you're allowed to read and to expose yourself to. Um, I wrote a book, and every time we have elders over, I give them a copy, and it's like a fantasy novel. So I give them a copy with the agreement that like you can't read it till you get home, or they're going to send it home and I'll read. So, and I think they're usually pretty good about it. But yeah, it's tough sometimes. But learning how to learn is huge. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And also, I would also say not only did I learn how to, but I also developed an appreciation for it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
for just more knowledge, which, as a teenager, I didn't really, that's just not really something I had the drive for.
Sure.
Also, I think I allowed my circumstances to get to me, and I put myself in kind of a weird place where I just stopped caring about a lot of things. But being on the mission kind of awakened that and gave me the appreciation for just obtaining knowledge.
Yeah, love that. So then, with you, serving a mission, developing those attributes and those new passions and loves, and how did that change your experience at SVU post mission? Because I can't speak for you, but it didn't seem like you had a bad experience at SVU pre mission. But how did maybe not change? How did those things enhance your experience at SVU post mission?
I would
If
say
they did.
yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of a few. I think my drive to do better in school actually was a big one.
Okay.
I've never been good at school, and I've always my personal view is there's four kinds of people. There's people who are smart, people who are good at school, people who are both, and people who are neither. And I at the at the very least was not good at school. Maybe I
Yeah.
was neither. At a minimum, I was not good. I think there's some people I know who are like I know a girl who they tested her IQ in high school, and she had the highest IQ score that had ever been tested at that school, but she failed out. Might
Wow.
some of that might have been motivation, some of it might have just been a horrible fit, but
Sure.
regardless, she was just not very good at school.
That's fascinating.
And then I know some other people who, frankly, I don't know how they're professionals in anything, but they got through school with grades. So, but then I think we all know someone in our life who's just a genius and is also good at school.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
people who are just neither. But anyway,
Yeah.
all that to say, I was never particularly good at school, but my desire to be changed a little bit when I got back. I was kind of tired of being a failure at that. And so that was a big one. And just overall work ethic in general changed
Mm,
because I actually experienced what it felt like to actually work at something,
sure.
because everyone talks about hard work and all they hear is the word hard, and they think, oh, that means it's scary. That means it's going to be
Yeah.
miserable. All that.
Right.
Well, it's not always. It's usually not. It's slight discomfort is actually not that scary when you
Yep.
actually do it.
Yep.
Everything always ends up being worse in our minds than it is in real life, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Very
was.
true.
And my mission actually ended up being one of those things that was so much scarier in my mind than it was in real life. It was just 2 year, drawn out version of it.
Right.
But it actually, the satisfaction of working on something and having even a little bit of success was something I felt on my mission and I wanted to do it again.
Mm, love that.
So, yeah.
Love that. Felt it on your mission and then wanted to do it again. That's fantastic. That'll be clipped for sure. for sure. That's awesome. So, kind of, I guess, a minor question. Post mission, once you got back, were you and Paul ever at SVU at the same time?
So, so we were, but not until I was a senior, because I got off my mission, and he was leaving as I got back, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
so I think I got back in June, and he left in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Jeez.
So it's pretty quick turnaround. But
Yeah.
then when he got off his mission, my youngest brother Sam was also coming, so all three of us were there
Well, yeah, that's right.
for my senior year.
That's cool. That's cool. And which one? Because you played basketball. Did both of them play volleyball?
They both played volleyball,
They both played volleyball. Okay. Cool. And did they do anything else? Did you do anything else, or did you just do basketball?
just basketball.
Okay. And did they just do volleyball then?
They did.
Cool. What was that like though? Going to school with siblings? Because for me, I had my older sister is 6 years older than me. So by the time I was going to SU, she'd been gone for a couple of years. But it was still like there were people there who overlapped both of us. So when I first started, it was like, oh, you're Elizabeth's little brother. And I was like, no, I'm Joe. I'm my own person. And then I went on my mission, and then I came home, and Catherine was already there. So then it became, oh, you're Catherine's brother. Like I never had, and then it became, oh, you're Marissa's husband. I never had like my own SVU experience. I was always connected with somebody else. For you, right? You got to go freshman year. You were just Bennett, and then coming back, was there ever kind of that, oh, you're Paul's brother, or oh, you're Sam's brother, or were you able to kind of continue that self experience at SVU?
No, I definitely had that. I got back and I
Okay.
was Paul. That's all I was.
Yeah.
Now, not to everybody, but to most people, because the not to the people that I wasn't that to, they were the people from my freshman year who were still there.
Yeah.
Now, in a kind of interesting way, my brothers helped me kind of get that back,
Mm.
because later, so when all three of us were there at the same time, I still sometimes was just Paul's brother or Sam's brother, because there's three of us there. We're all different years, we're different classes, and so more people are gonna, because there's two of them, more people are gonna know one of them than me.
Right.
But what ended up happening is they the support that I was shown publicly by the two of them during my basketball season actually kind of helped me get that back, because
That's
they were
awesome.
trying to put it they were trying to put attention on me.
Yeah.
So, I remember, I mean, we had a horrible season, but I remember my senior night, my
Mm.
brothers had, um so my nickname within my family is Big B. And so
Okay.
what had happened, they had kind of behind my back gotten a whole bunch of t-shirts printed that said Big B on it, and they got a bunch of people in the crowd to wear them.
Yeah.
So there I am, walking out for my senior night, and suddenly there's a whole bunch of people out there wearing the t-shirts with my name on it.
Big B.
And that was all designed, that was all, orchestrated by them.
Yeah.
And also they were always in the front row. They were always giving so much crap to the other team, telling
Love
them
it.
how much smaller they were compared to Big B, how all this other stuff, and how I was in their head or whatever. And so that kind of helped me get that back a little bit, because they were trying to turn all the attention onto me. And so that
Yeah.
kind of felt nice. And so of course, I did it back to them, when they were playing volleyball. Obviously they had
Yeah.
much more success than I did, but
Oh my
there's
gosh.
they did well. They did a very nice job. And
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that it was reciprocated.
Yeah. Was Sam still around a couple years ago when they won the national championship, or had he graduated already?
Yes, he was.
He
That
was.
was his,
Okay.
actually I think that was his senior year, was the national.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
And
awesome.
frankly, Paul's senior year, they were probably good enough to win it, but they just slipped on a banana peel in the first round. And
Was that
Like,
the year they lost to Juniata?
no, I don't think it was Juniata. I think it was.
Well, no, first round it wouldn't have been Juniata.
I might be mixing up years, but I think it was the first round. They played some team that was. I don't know if it was NYU or it was some team that was seated far
Yeah.
below that.
Yeah, yeah,
One of
yeah,
those.
yeah. Just a fluke loss. Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
but
That's
I
cool.
think personally, I think they were good enough to win it that year. They just,
Well,
you
yeah.
know, it happens sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun talking with Jake last week too about, laying the foundation for those guys, being part of the club team and crazy times.
Yeah, yeah, turned out
I
quite
mean,
nicely. So
it did. It did. And I don't really have any kind of claim to fame with that, but like when I got home from my mission, that was one of the first things I did because I got home right in the middle of club season, or not like right in the middle, but like right going into club season. So when I got home, it was I don't even know if you know these guys, Nick Gagan. Oh my
Nick
gosh,
Gagan was he played with John Gagan?
yeah. So he's John's older brother. So
Okay, so I knew John.
Nick and John, um, Kyle Tyree.
Would have known him.
The Yeah, just a bunch of, like, random guys that had this volleyball club, but we would go to tournaments at Liberty, we went to a tournament at UNC, we played UNC's club team, we played Duke's club team, like, it was insane, and now the volleyball team is just so, so, so good, and I think a lot of credit goes to Tom Peterson, who's just incredible. But I mean, at the same time, like you got to give equal credit to the players because they're the ones actually doing everything. Yeah, that's awesome. Um,
Well,
yeah. So go ahead. Yeah.
one skill that Tom has that a lot of other coaches don't have to the same level as he does is he has the ability to recruit excellent players and excellent people.
Yeah.
So you can
Yep.
say you have credit to the players, but why are they there? Because of Tom.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I like that you said they're not just good players, but they're good people. I don't think I've met any, maybe like one or two of the men's volleyball players at SVU that like I haven't met and immediately just been like, "Oh, you're an amazing person. Like you're a really good athlete. You're also really cool. Like you're a good person." So
Yeah.
that's huge too. That's
I mean,
awesome.
every group's gonna have a bad apple or two, or three or
Yep.
four.
Or 3 or 4.
But when I first got back, they had a good number of guys who were just stand up guys,
Yeah. Yep.
So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, that is for sure. So overall, and I've asked everyone that went to SVU this as well, because for me and Mo, we had several experiences with SVU because I've grew up there. I've kind of seen how it's transformed and everything. And then I went on my mission, then I came back and it was different real quick. Um, and then we left, then we came back again and it was different again. Then we left again. So overall, what would you now let me reword that. Would you recommend SVU? Or is that something that you're going to give a thumbs up? Or are you going to say maybe not so much anymore? What's your opinion on SVU as far as kids now who might be looking at schools?
Well, SBU I think is an amazing option for the people that it fits.
Mm,
Just like I would say the same thing about pretty much any other school.
sure.
But it was an amazing fit for me. It was an amazing fit for other people that I got to experience it with. And so would I say everybody should go there? No. Would I say everybody should look at it? Yes.
Mm,
I think everybody
valid.
should get a chance.
Yeah.
But obviously there are gonna be some people it's not a good fit for. But I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least look at it.
Sure. Yeah. I love that. Love that. I think that's completely valid. Maybe gosh, it's 2026 now. When I went back in 18-19 for my senior year, I think things had started to kind of shift in a way that I didn't like. 18-19 was, I think, the second year of the Apple deal, and so that was all super new. So one of the biggest selling points at the time was come to SVU and you get iPad. And for me, growing up in BV and being a part of SVU's growth, like basically from year one, I was part of that group that was like, I drove up the hill and I knew I needed to be there. And that was the same with Mo. Mo was like, she can still remember driving up in their minivan and seeing Main Hall, and she was like, "This is where I'm supposed to go to school." And then 18, 19, it was like, "I'm getting an iPad, so I'm going to SVU." But now I feel like it's started to shift kind of back to that. The focus is more on the feeling of SVU, and I think that was kind of how like your freshman year with Tay and Kale and Austin and all them. That was a good year. I think it was more about still the feel of SVU and the unity of SVU and all that. And, I remember being at our little house, and I remember the groups we would have over at our house to outsiders would make no sense because we'd
Mhm.
have like three guys from the basketball team and two computer nerds and someone who
And
was
Derek
into
Purvis.
and Derek Purvis and like but everyone was over and everyone was having fun and like it was just so comfortable and I loved that and I think it's getting back to that now. So same as you. I think everyone should give it a shot. Everyone should look at it, but not necessarily that everyone should go. Um, and I think that's kind of how most things in life. If there's a good opportunity, why not look at it? Right? It might not be the right opportunity, but if you don't look at it, you'll never
Yeah,
know. Love that.
but also,
Yeah,
yeah. But for the record, I think I don't think everybody. I think but you could say this about every other school that not everybody should go there because it's not a great fit for everybody. But I can't think of another school that I would say that every single person should look at. I can't say that
yeah,
many.
fair.
Ve- Very unique. It's a very interesting place, and I think even just to satisfy your curiosity, I think you should.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. Yeah, I don't know that there is another school that I would feel comfortable saying everybody should look at it because I don't really think there is. I think one of the beauties of SVU that I get a lot of, I shouldn't say get a lot of crap for, but there's a lot of misunderstanding about SVU out here in the fact that, and it's understandable to a point that SVU is like, it's not owned by the church. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so a lot of people that aren't members of the church also don't understand that. And so they're like, ooh, I don't want to go there because that's just a Mormon school and I don't want to have a part. When I started, it was like 96% were members of the church. Now I believe it's down to like maybe even under 90. And so which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you really think about it, a school that small, that's a good number. Uh,
I could be wrong, but I think my senior year, by that point, I think it was somewhere in the 80s.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, or like low
Awesome.
80s at that point
Yep.
because they also athletics were starting to get better. They, some of the teams still struggled a lot, but it was getting better,
Yeah.
and they were starting to get more athletes who were not members to come out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. I love that. I think the diversity, and I think a lot of people misunderstand that too, and they think that people don't want that. But like for me, I think part of the spirit of SVU is the belonging and the unity, and that doesn't always necessarily just come from being in the same church, right? But having the same ideals and all that. So love all of that. Love all of that. Um, so post SVU, we've kept in touch here and there. Uh, you have moved everywhere. You've been all over the place.
Yeah, yeah,
So the last that I knew was when you were at Salisbury and you were doing like you were a trainer for the basketball team or something along those lines, right?
yeah. So post SVU, well, actually, first what I did after I graduated is I worked for a year at SVU
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was on their sport performance staff. So I was working with Jake Barney, Andy Pace, and Dakota Windsor.
Yeah, I love that.
Dakota had left by then, I think. But I was working with, I was essentially, doing a lot of the strength and conditioning and some, return to play stuff with a lot of the athletes. So I went from there after a year of that. Then I went and interned doing the same thing at UC Irvine in California.
Wow.
Yeah. Then after I interned there, I went to Salisbury. Now
My
Salisbury
gosh.
doing the same thing there, but I was working with a variety of teams. I was with football, basketball, volleyball, um, even the throwers, their lacrosse
Cool.
program, which their lacrosse program, anyone in the lacrosse world knows who Salisbury is because they are
Yep. They're
regular.
unreal.
We, I mean, my second year of my graduate assistantship there, their team for lacrosse, we went to the national title, and I think in the first, I might have this wrong, but I think at the end of the first quarter, we were up like 8-0 or something, like in the
Gosh.
national title game. Was that
Yeah.
they're in that?
Yeah. They're unreal.
Yeah, but they developed a really good culture there, and there's just a standard that everyone decides they're going to meet, and if you don't meet it, you don't stick around. But anyway,
It's
I
good.
was I was there for 2 years. However, since it's Division 3 during the summer, there's no work, and so
Right.
that summer, my boss said, "Hey, if you have 2-3 months, if I were you, I would go do another internship somewhere." So I went and did that at BYU, and
Right.
then
Okay. Yep. Remember that.
went back to finish up at Salisbury, and then following my graduating and finishing up my GA there, I was I then went and worked with as a contractor with the United States Army, where I was doing
Mm.
the same work but with Army soldiers. Now, while I was there, I was also fortunate enough to get involved with their combatives program. So
Mm.
I helped teach basically defensive tactics with the because I also have some experience with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and boxing, and so
Yep. Yep.
helped teach. I helped teach some of that stuff to some of the soldiers with the army. So I was working primarily uh, with an explosive ordnance disposal uh, unit. So the guys who get rid of bombs,
Yeah.
and they were preparing to go to deploy, and so
Okay.
I was with them all leading up till their deployment. So I trained them in the weight room, out on the field, on the mats, all that stuff, just getting ready to deploy. And so now they're still out there, I believe. Yeah, they're still there. Some of them are
Mm.
in Somalia, some of them in Libya with a special group. Now, I was there for about 2.5 years and that was in Tacoma, Washington. So Joint Base Lewis
Okay.
McChord.
Okay.
Then just recently, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I moved down to Las Vegas. And so
Yeah.
now I'm working with a with an Air Force Special Warfare unit,
Okay. Wow.
working with kind of if you want to call it the Air Force's elite, that's totally fine. Uh, what they, that's what they're supposed to be. That's what they train for.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. And where in all of that, I don't even know if you remember this. You probably do. Where in all of that did you go out with my brother-in-law's wife's sister?
Who was this? What was this person's name?
That was Kylie Burge.
Oh, okay, all right. We, so we hung out for a little while when I was in Washington, and that would have been
Okay.
probably a year and a half ago or so. I was not there for very long before I met
Okay.
her.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I had noticed there was, I think it was on social media, there was some connection between the two of you. I was like, how does Joe know this person? So
Yep. Yeah. So her sister is my wife's brother's wife. So we got a text, like a group text from Trey and Kiara that was like, "Do you guys know Bennett Candland?" And we were like, "How do you know Bennett Candland?" And then, yeah, oh, he went on a date with Kylie. So yeah, that was one of the strangest connections like I've ever heard. It just out of nowhere. Okay, cool, cool. Um, so continuing kind of the discussion of what you've moved into and what you're doing now, how how have those mission lessons kind of helped with this aspect of it, because there's obviously school and sports like we talked about, but now we're talking about you're working with military guys, and you're working a very, maybe similar in a lot of ways, but really very different from like an athletics job. Does that make sense? Um, how have those mission experiences transitioned into what you're doing now?
You have to be an effective communicator with these guys because they can see right through you.
Mm,
If you
sure.
if you show signs of if you show signs of not knowing what you're talking about, being a phony or any of that stuff, they'll pick on it. They'll pick up on it immediately, and you will lose all credibility with them. The ability to be an effective communicator is probably the most important thing that I could have possibly learned that could have prepared me for this job.
Yeah, love
So
that.
doing that on the mission, it learning how to speak, like public speaking is another thing you learn on the mission. I know a lot of people say it, but
Yep,
it
yep,
really goes a long way. And so the ability to do that confidently and not be quaking in your boots because of who you're working with is it makes a world difference.
yeah.
They had, I remember some of my bomb techs in Washington, they were saying, some of the people that have walked through and they've been like, yeah, that guy clearly didn't know what he was doing. They said, yeah, you clearly do. And I was like, I'm not that smart. I guess I'm just a good talker.
I'm a good talker. I talk nice.
I
You
talk,
you hit
you know,
him good, and I talk
yeah,
nice.
I feel well about myself. No,
I feel
but,
that's awesome.
but that's, it's a, it's a big deal. And also, honestly, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of advice I give the guys when they ask about certain things. Like, nutrition is part of what I do. And so
Sure.
when they'll ask me nutrition advice, and if I can tell them, you know, I can tell them like, if you don't drink, you're going to feel a million times better. They can, they can be like, oh, well, this guy, whatever. I'm like, dude, I feel amazing. And I've never had, I, I don't do that stuff. It's healthy and it's kept me within my right mind. And, believe it or not, I've had a couple of guys actually quit drinking because of that.
Dude,
So
that's
it's
amazing.
that's a lot of people probably think I'm lying, but whatever. I don't care.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
That's
But
so cool.
anyway, hope that all answers your question. I think that
Yeah,
speaks
no,
to
it
you.
did, it did. No, it definitely did. Um, yeah, and I think that missions are unique in the way that they teach us to communicate, because I think about like people who go to like Harvard or like Ivy League schools, or like who go to like schools to learn how to speak and how to public address, and for me, my mission taught me how to be an effective communicator for sure, but also just it taught me how to be real.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think what you're saying with some of those guys who, they can catch a phony, a lot of times you learn how to speak very effectively. But if you're not being real and there's not authenticity in it, that's when the guys are it's the same with kids. I've heard that a lot, that like the military and kids are very similar. But like a 4-year-old, if you can say something so clearly and so effectively, but if there's no authenticity behind it, they're not going to care, right? They're going to do whatever they want to do still. And that, for me, that was what my mission really taught me, because I don't know, I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast yet. And so I was homeschooled growing up, right? And in a lot of ways, I think I was one of the more normal homeschoolers, and sports I think helped with that, because every day when my friends got out of school, we were playing soccer or we were playing basketball or we were playing baseball, we were doing something. And so that helped. But when I got onto my mission, it became very clear to me very fast that my communication skills were, I was very people pleasy, and I was more concerned about trying to make sure someone liked what I was saying than being real. Now I I'd say it as it is in my brain, right? And people just got to deal with that. But the the way I've learned to effectively communicate has helped that authenticity. So I love that. And yeah, the military has got to be, I can't even imagine. I've coached high school guys and they're terrifying sometimes. So the military's got to be, that's got to be intense.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I'm also one of those people who just cannot deal with phonies. If I don't
Yeah.
think you're being
Yep.
fake, I will stop listening. And if and and I noticed very quickly that when I was on a mission, that if you're trying to read something from a script or you're trying to
Mm.
put on a face, then people are going to see it and they're going to shut you down. They're already looking at you a little
Yep.
bit weird because of who
Yep.
you are. And so
Yep.
you need to level with them and be like, look, I'm a guy just like you are. I just happen to be doing a different job than you.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
and if they don't think that you care about them or they don't think that you're actually speaking hard, telling the truth, then good luck.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. I had a comp, and I won't name drop, but I had a comp who was notorious in the area. I went into the area and he was already there, and it felt like everyone in that area, everyone knew who he was because he smiled too much.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was like the grinning, like he would knock on the door and it was the grin smile. And I remember so many times when I got there, people would enter the door, they'd look at him and then they'd look at me like, is he for real? Like, and like they wouldn't even talk to him. They'd talk to me, and a lot of the time it would be like, I'm not interested. But just the people could tell so fast. Like, and yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Okay. So are you also coaching right now? You mentioned coaching. Are you talking about military stuff, or do you coach basketball as well?
Well, I'm hired. I mean, I'm technically hired as a coach, or they have a
Okay.
different title for it. I'm a uh, human performance specialist or technical athlete coach, whatever. I can
Ooh,
think of a lot of really fancy ways to
human
say, it,
performance
but
specialist.
at the end of the day, I'm still coaching.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm still teaching these guys. I'm still helping them to learn new things, and I'm helping kind of uh, create an environment where they can push themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
That's
is
huge too.
still coaching. That is still what I do.
Yeah. I love that. Is that excuse me, is like coaching basketball, is that something you've ever thought about or looked into or even
What
done?
was You cut off a
Like
second?
like coaching basketball.
Have I thought about it?
Yeah.
Yes. However, there's there's some other things that I think I would like to coach probably a little bit more. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Sure. Valid. Valid. Love that. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So those are the questions that I had. That's what I had. I wanted to catch up. I wanted to hear from you. Um, one other question that I do always ask every guest, regardless of our topics or anything like that, is if you had the chance to say one thing, if you could say one thing to youth, young adults, people who are working on finding kind of that balance of faith, of athletics, of mental health, of careers, just trying to find a balance, which Elder Bednar said balance is a myth, and I think he's completely correct. Um, but trying to find some kind of maybe just peace with all of it. What what would your advice? What would your one piece be?
Hmm. There are a few that I would give, but
Okay.
try, this is my only chance. I'm gonna try to think of the best one. I would say I would say this. So because you're talking about balancing faith and balancing, athletics and balancing just other things in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say, one of the things my mission president said was that if you lean into the church, then at the very least, if it's not if it's not right, you're still gonna fall into something that's good. If you lean away from
Mm,
it, you fall.
mm,
Where are you gonna land? So, and I hope that makes sense. It made sense
yeah.
perfectly to me.
Yeah.
But
No, it does. It does. I like that.
it is, if it ends up being wrong, your life is still going to be better as a result of doing it.
Yeah.
So lean into it. You will see the benefits at some point, and you might see them sooner than you think. And but ultimately, if you're doing your best to be a good person, to follow the gospel, to follow Jesus Christ, if you're doing those things, ultimately, good things are going to come around to you at some.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's unavoidable. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Whether you want those good things to come to you or not, they're going to.
They're going to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I love that.
it's I know how hard it is to trust that, how hard it is to believe that, but I, growing up and even now still, I've always been, like I said, one of those guys who never liked to feel like he was being, you know, he was being lied to or being, manipulated or whatever. Because a lot of times growing up in church, I kind of felt that way. I felt like people were reading from a script because
Yep.
they were saying
Yep.
what
Yep.
supposed to say. I was getting the
Same.
same prepackaged lines all the time.
Yep.
And ultimately, what ended up kind of cementing in my brain that it was true was my own experience. And I wouldn't have had those experiences had I not leaned into it. So
Yeah.
if you if you don't commit to something, then it usually doesn't end up working out. On the court,
Mm. Oh.
you don't commit to you don't commit to a play. You don't commit
Yeah.
to
Plays dead. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You let it fail. I'm trying to think there's a better way I had to say it, but I'm trying to remember. Here's maybe this will help. So in the special warfare community, there's three rules. Rule number one: always look cool. Rule number two: never get lost. And rule number three: if you get lost, look cool. So if you so ultimately you have to commit you have to commit to the bit, you have to commit to doing it. Because even if you get lost, you still gotta look like you know what
You
you're doing.
still look like you. That's awesome.
Yes. And
Look cool.
yeah. So
I love that.
just the only way this really works is if you just commit to it. If you haven't been
Yeah.
committing to it yet, start now. No one cares about the beginning of the
Mm.
movie, they care about the end. So
Ooh.
wherever
Oh
you're
my
at,
gosh. Bennett's just ripping off bangers the last 5 minutes. Golly.
man, I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. So but but yeah, wherever you're at, start committing to it right now and just trust the fact that you're doing the right thing because you are. For whatever my word is worth, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Love that. Love all of that. Thank you, Bennett. My goodness. That's been fantastic. Been
Thanks.
fantastic. It's been good catching up too. Been good
Yeah, for
catching up.
sure. Yeah. Well, I'll
Yeah.
have to catch up in person sometime. I'll be getting up to Utah pretty frequently from now on. So
Yeah.
like a few hours away. So be coming up there more
True.
often.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say I think we're like 6 from Vegas. It's not too bad.
Where
Are
are you?
you? So we're in Orem, but I'm literally a 2-minute walk from the border of Orem and Provo. So
Okay.
I'm 20 minutes from Lavelle, from the football stadium. So yeah, there's only 5. Okay, are you up in like North Vegas because you're close to the base? I'm assuming
I'm in West Vegas, like west side of
West
town.
Vegas. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now
West
living near base,
Vegas. That's fun. Say what?
yeah, living near a base is almost never a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. That's where we were in California. We were in a base town, and that was terrible.
Which
That was
one was it?
terrible. So we were at the naval weapons testing. Yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
all the secrets are up there. Uh, that city was crazy because like the city was there because of the base, and so almost all of the members were like civs, and it was so the majority. I think it was like 80% of the base personnel were civs, and it's one of the fewest or it's one of the few in the entire military that are that high because it's all engineers and it's all people that are creating these weapons that they can't talk about. But um, yeah, the base was It's one of the biggest ones as well. It's massive. But every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, they do bomb testing, and the whole city. We lived on almost the most southern street in the whole city, and you feel it. The whole city, you feel these bombs being tested, and they're like 50 to 100 miles out into the desert, and you're still feeling the. Anyways, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, but
We
I
got the
mean, it was a good experience, huh?
we got the fighter jets flying over our building several times a
Oh,
day. So every time that happens, I said, "What did he say?"
what did I
Like
say?
that, like that, like that. That old dried up lady from SpongeBob. What did
Yeah.
he say?
What did he say? What did he say? Oh, our kids love SpongeBob now. They
Your
love
kids are gonna turn out
SpongeBob.
okay.
They're gonna turn out just fine. They watch
Yeah.
Pokemon on Saturday mornings, and they watch SpongeBob once every couple weeks. They're gonna be all right.
You're a good dad. You know that?
Oh man, I try. I try. It's all Mo too. It's Mo too. That's SpongeBob is her and her siblings. Pokemon, I think that was mostly me. But yeah, it's good times though. It's good times.
That's excellent.
Um, I'm thinking about it now, and I think I've only done this one other time. But is there anything that you want to ask me, or are you good?
So, tell me a little bit about your coaching experience because I know you were around a little bit, bouncing between coaching gigs.
Yeah,
Tell me where you were at because I kind of lost track a little bit.
sure.
But
So the majority of my coaching career was in Arizona at the high school level. So the first 2 years as a head coach that I ever experienced was co-ed at a high school where Mo was teaching. That was interesting in a great way. Wonderful experience. The team I took over was the second year of the program, and the first year they had gone 1-12, and the one win was because a team that was like 0-13 at the time lived like 4 hours away, and they didn't want to make the drive, and so they just forfeited the game. So the one win wasn't even played. So in essence, they were 0-12. Um, and and then the AD, who was also the football coach, he knew my wife because they were both teachers, um, and knew me and was like, you played in college, you've got some experience with the game. And so I was like, okay. And so he offered me the job, so I took it. And first year we went 4-8, so improved
Mhm.
a first year. But we went 4-8. It's a good season, good rebuilding year. And then the second season we went 8-4. We flipped it, which I've never experienced before. But that was really, really cool. And then we had to leave because that was when I went back to SVU to finish my degree and golf, which was amazing. Um, but then we left ALA with the understanding that I'd be getting my degree and we'd be going back to ALA. Then while we were at SVU, the director left and he went from Arizona to a school they were opening in North Carolina. And so we were like, what do we do? Because we want to go back to Arizona, but we also want to be with that director. So we ended up delaying for a year, and we lived in Illinois with Mo's parents. I taught at her high school, and Mo's hometown is like BV is small. Mo's hometown is like 1,000 people. Like it is super small. So it has one light, and it's just a red light, like it's a stop light, not an actual like traffic light. That's how small it is. So teaching I got to teach there for, oh gosh, like 2 months because I didn't have a teaching certificate, but had a degree. And so they brought me in as a full-time sub basically. So I got to teach there. That was cool. And then ALA called and they were like, hey, we have a position for Joe because at a charter school, you can teach with just a bachelor's degree. So we go back to Arizona, same school, different director at that point. Or no, I'm getting my timelines all mixed up. It was still the same director. He was still there, but he was getting ready to leave. So anyway, so we go back. I'm teaching, and it was a new AD. That was the change. There was a new AD who had basically fired the previous boys coach. So while we were gone, they had split boys and girls. And he reached out to me and he was like, I know you coached here before. Do you want to do that again? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I have a new kid. My wife is pregnant. I'm teaching now. It's going to be crazy. And he was like, well, we really need a coach. So I said yes. Coached the boys team there for 2 years. Just amazing experience. Uh, made some relationships with kids that I still talk to every other week or a couple times a month, and just check in on them or they're checking in on us, and it's really been an amazing experience. Um, had some success, right? Got to the postseason both years. Ended up losing way earlier than we should have, but flukes happen and all of that, um, and then so I coached those 2 years, and then that was when we thought we were going to move to North Carolina to go with that other director. So I stepped away and the North Carolina fell through. So I had another gap year of teaching or of coaching where I was in Arizona, but not coaching because my assistant had become the head coach, which he is an amazing man. Could not have asked for a better person to take over that program. Still there, which has been awesome and just built that program so well. So but I was devastated, right? Because I was like, I could have stayed and we didn't know that we weren't leaving. So then we started looking for coaching jobs. And that was what led us to Illinois for one season. Um, so where Mo's from, there's a community college like 30 to 40 minutes away, kind of closer to Indiana. And they had posted that they were hiring an assistant. Pay was horrible, but we had decided that you're getting way more than your question was worth, by the way. You're
No, no,
getting way
I
more
asked.
for it.
Yeah.
So I'm super allergic to cats, and Mo's parents have a lot of cats. And so we were like, okay, we'll go to Illinois because they offered me the job. It's like, we'll go to Illinois. And one of the stipulations with the job was that they had like a coach's apartment. And so we were like, okay, we'll go to Illinois. I'll live in the coach's apartment for a few weeks to a month while coaching and while we're looking for a place. And Mo and the kids can stay with her parents. Free rent, good situation around grandma and grandpa. Um, that few weeks to a month turned into the entire season and then turned into basically a month postseason because we just could not find a place to live in the city where the school was. Um, Coaching wise, probably it's hard to say this. I think that was probably my favorite year as a coach at any level. It just the amount of talent that we had was unreal. Our men's team was 100% international students, which was we get a lot of flack for because a lot of people don't like that there are so many international students taking U.S. kids' spots. Um, but U.S. kids also didn't want to go to that school because it was in the middle of nowhere,
Mhm.
nothing to do. And the talent in the town was not up to par yet. So, in a way, we had to go get 100% international kids, but it made the game so easy to coach because all these kids thought about the game the same way that me and the head coach did. He's from Chile, and I've grown up watching European soccer. And so it was so easy to translate all of our ideas and philosophies with these guys. So with the guys, we won the region, uh, the JUCO region for the first time in program history. Went to districts, which was one step away from JUCO nationals, and uh, got, for lack of a more appropriate word, got screwed by a ref in the literally the last second of the game, and then we lost on pens. So that was frustrating. The women, we didn't make it to postseason, but those girls were some of the most fun I've ever had as a coach. It was just the heart and the effort and the energy was just unmatched. It was unreal. It was awesome to be there. Um, and then what happened with that? What and again, I try not to speak ill of people, and I don't know all of the finer details, but basically what happened was the head coach, as I said, he's from Chile, and the district were supposed to submit paperwork for his visa, for his work visa, and they didn't do it. And
Right.
so he ended up calling me and the other assistant one night and was like, "Hey, we need to talk in the office now." So we run over to the office, which was like 2 minutes from the apartment, which was great. I was there all the time. Um, and he was like, "I have to leave in 2 weeks." And so we're just sitting there like stunned. And he was like, "And I have to tell the team tomorrow." So that was emotional. That was a process. And in the process of all of that, I submitted an application to become the head coach after he left, um, and was given one initial interview, basically as a what's the word? They were obligated to give me an interview. Um, so Marissa and I, after that kind of happened, and the next day they told me like, yeah, we're not going to hire you. Um, we prayed and fasted. I don't even know how much. Just constantly, it felt like about staying there or leaving, and made the decision to leave, which was difficult because we had just moved there. Right, we'd moved in July, and then come February, we're talking about, okay, I'm leaving the school, so we're talking about leaving again. So that was difficult. And then the guy that they brought in after that had no college experience, had coached high school in Missouri for a few years and been successful, but no college experience at all. Um, so I was bitter about that. I was bitter about that. And, I wanted to still coach. I still wanted to, that's at the time, that's what I thought my career path for the rest of my life was going to be. And so applying all over the country, applying in Illinois, applying at other JUCOs that we had played that like would know me and would recognize my ability. Um, and every time it felt like I would get an interview, get a second interview, get a third interview, and then I'd just get ghosted. And hindsight, and this is something Mo's really good about too, is reminding me like if someone's gonna drop you in the dirt like that, that's not a place that you would have wanted to work for anyways.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
and that's I've had to constantly remind myself of that. Because I'm like, look, do you really think those are the kind of people you'd want to work with anyway?
yep, yep.
And there's a little part of it, so I was like, maybe, but also,
It was a nice job. Like they had
but
nice
then,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, because I've had that happen where they kind of, like you said, for lack of a more appropriate term, screwed me out of it, and then turned around later and ended up offering it to me like a year later, and I was like,
Ugh.
I had that happen at one. I won't say what the school was, but it was a school that it was down to me and one other person, and I was clearly more qualified.
Yeah.
I knew who this person was,
Yep.
and they get another person, and then that person didn't even make it a year. Then they
Wow.
ended up, I ended up applying again because I was like, you know what, I just want to see what happens here.
Yeah.
And I get into the interview process, and I'm like, wait a sec, like you know, they they cut the pay for the job after this person left, and then and also they're coming back to me now, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like partway through the process, I remembered like, why did I not get this in the first place?
Right.
I and regardless of why I didn't get it, they're now suddenly coming back to me and saying, "Yeah, we want you," even though we completely ghosted you the last time. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. No,
Yeah. Yeah. No. Not a
that was the end.
chance. Yeah. No, that's it. And it was like that. It was just consistently interviews dropped, interviews dropped. And so it was taking forever. So thankfully, we were living in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. So rent was like, it was like $600, crazy cheap. And even then, like I didn't have an income. So like we're asking our branch president, like, hey, can you help us out with rent this month? They're like, we're trying to figure stuff out. And still nothing, still nothing, still nothing. There were at least one, maybe two or three guys that I had recruited that ended up committing to the school and still going to that school. So we were still there in the fall because I hadn't found a job yet. And so I would go to the games to support the guys. And it was it was tough because after the games, they would always come up to me and they would always say, "This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what like blah 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 blah." And that it at talking to youth, talking to young men, like I'm good about like he's still your coach. You still need to respect it. That sucks. I'm sorry, but like it's still got to be what what really did it for me was so one of our rivals in our conference, the other coach off the pitch, awesome. On the pitch, I might have to bleep this. I don't know. Prick.
Yeah.
Like just yelling at me and the other coaches during our games in the season. And I'm the kind of coach I feed on that. I love that. I'm a passion coach. I'm yelling and screaming, not like in an angry way, but like if he comes over and yells at me, like I'm not gonna just not take it. Right. I'm not gonna just take it. I'm gonna dish back. And he knew that. So I went to the game where they played Lincoln Trail, the school I left. And I sat on the bleachers, and the way that the bleachers were, there was bleachers, and then a sidewalk went literally right next to him, and it was like park bleachers, not even like high school, like 4 rows. And I always sat on the very top row, up against the fence, so I could lean on it and just kind of watch everything. And they're walking across, and Gabe is his name. He like kind of stopped and looked around, and he like looked up at me, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And he used some other words, but he was, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, well, they didn't hire me and I haven't found a new job yet. So I'm still here. And he just kind of kept walking. He's like, oh, okay. So they play the game. They win like 5-1, 5-0. I think it was 5-1. I think they got one. And at the end of the game, they were leaving. And he kind of stopped and looked at me and he was like, they hired the wrong guy. Hired the wrong guy. And he just kept walking. That was the one that I was like, even other coaches know.
Yeah.
Like that made it so. And then behind him was Bernardo, the guy that I had recruited, and he was just kind of like nodding, like, yeah.
Yeah.
But man, and then so after that, it was like October. No, it must have been November. Um, I had so NCAA market I had up every day. I had higher ed jobs every day, and I had sports jobs up every day on my computer, just refreshing, refreshing, refreshing. Like every hour, I'd refresh it and just see new jobs, new jobs, new jobs. And this one popped up in California, and it read through the description. It looked all right. We looked at the city. It looked all right, and it just said email the AD if you're interested. It didn't have like an application process. It just said email the AD and connect. And so did that, connected, and I had an offer within a week. And so me and Mo were like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen unless you're at the top level and like someone knows their coach is going to leave, then it happens that fast. But other than that, it doesn't happen that fast. This is usually a multi-week, potentially multi-month process. So we took that as a sign for us to go to California. And I struggled a little bit over the last 6 or 7 months retroactively with that decision. But looking back at it now, there are so many other things that happened outside of soccer that we needed as a family, as individuals. Uh, so I don't regret making that move at all. There were definitely things that happened within this soccer side of it that, man, it was beyond frustrating, beyond frustrating. And I don't think we really have caught up since then.
Mhm.
But it was it was shocking to me. And so I got hired in November. My official date was like December 1st. Um, but in California, you're not allowed to make contact with kids until you have been fingerprinted and you've done all of these things that are way more technical than every other state. So I wasn't able to really, really dive into recruiting until like March for a fall season. And they wanted to have a full roster and they wanted to do this and that. And I'm the kind of guy, like, my mindset is we're going to win a national championship from day one. Like, we're going to train like that. We're going to work like that. We're going to live like that. That's how it's going to be. And it was it was eye opening for me to see. And I think this is another reason why I wanted to do this podcast. Now that I'm thinking about it, to see the level of people that young athletes are right now, and the recruits that I was able to bring in, and just calling a spade. I think if I had to do it all again, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 of those recruits that I would want to have again. And that's talking about caliber of person. Right? All of them were talented. All of them had ability and all of that. But when it came to the caliber of person, and I don't know how I would go about finding that out better, but that was something that for me was like, it just, like, I thought I was recruiting a certain caliber of person, and then everybody got there and it was like, holy crap. Like, our season literally fell apart. Literally fell apart. Um and so that was tough. So then the season was over, and me and Marissa were talking frequently about, really a lot about, like, my mental health and my mental space and where I was at. And I was on a recruiting trip, actually in Vegas. So I was in like Northwest Vegas at this. It's called Mayor's Cup. I was there, and it's one of the biggest ones in Vegas. And meeting with recruiting agencies from England and like all these international guys who love talking to me and want their kids to come play for me. And the whole time I'm there, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going back. I don't know if I'm going to go back in the fall. And I'm not saying that to these guys, right? But while I was in Vegas, I got to go to the temple, and I hadn't been to the temple in like 2 years, because in Illinois, the closest temple was almost 3 hours away. And then in Cali, the closest temple was LA, which was like 3 hours away plus
Oh,
traffic, and so sometimes the LA temple is like 5 hours away because of traffic.
yeah.
So, so I go to the Vegas temple, and then that trip was when on the drive home, uh, I almost never call Mo while I'm driving. And so I called her, and she didn't even say hi. She was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I don't want to go back. I think I'm done." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" Because she's thinking, "What is he talking about? I don't want to go back." And and so I was like, "I'm done this Haracoso." And she just got real quiet, and she was like, "Okay." And it was just, that was it, just clean break for us. So then I met with the AD and talked about all that and gave him official notices and all that. And at the time, I was looking for more coaching jobs again, and my brain was saying, Saracoso's done. I need to go somewhere else. And the same thing started happening. It was either no contact, or it was, one interview or a contact of, thanks, but we're not going to interview with you. And that went on for a couple months. And I finally just realized, and I was talking to Mo, and I was like, I can't coach right now. I can't. And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And one of the things that I realized, because we had started to kind of talk about this Utah move, and if that was going to be realistic or not. And uh, so I had looked at like high school jobs, which are always listed as part time. part-time, 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 part-time. And I was like, first and foremost, we can't survive on a part-time high school coaching gig. We just can't. It's going to be a stipend of like three, maybe to $6,000 if you go to a really nice school. So we can't survive on that. And I can't coach part-time. I can't do it. If I get a coaching gig, it is full-time. It is what I'm doing all the time. And I realized that in California, it's what I was doing all the time. All the time. I would leave the office, I would come home, I would open up my laptop, and I would watch film at home. And that was just all the time. So that's why I don't know even if you saw this. I have stepped away from coaching
Mhm.
indefinitely. Yeah. So I've stepped away from coaching indefinitely, which was really difficult to make that decision. Um, and in a lot of ways, it was difficult to put the indefinitely tag on there because in some ways it's still in the back of my brain. Like I know I could go back sometime. Um, but for the time being, it's definitely just not in the cards because I've got 5 kids upstairs
Mhm.
and another on the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Congratulations to
yeah.
you guys.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, Jesus just does. He wants us to keep having kids, man. It's but I've got 5 kids up there who need me more, and they need me a lot, and their mom's always pregnant, so, so you know. Oh, but that's.
I get it, man. I'm one of 7, so I've
Are you 7? I didn't realize you guys were 7.
yeah, I'm the 3rd of 7. So
The third of 7. So you're almost like right in the middle there. That's cool. That's
yeah, so
cool.
I've been on the kid side of that as
Mm.
well.
What's your spread like though? Because our spread is 6 years.
My oldest sister was, I think, 15 when my youngest sister was born.
Okay. So
So yeah,
15,
but
7
15
over 15.
first,
That's not bad.
yeah, yeah, pretty much everyone's 2 years apart with the exception of like a couple of them who were a little farther apart. Like Sam is 4 years older than my younger sister. So
Okay.
yeah, but
Wow.
otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not too bad. 15 years isn't a bad spread. Yeah, so a new way will turn 7 in just a few weeks. And then the 6th one is due in November. So it'll be 6, 7 and under. Yeah.
So you'll
Yeah.
have, so all their ages will be like, tell me what the ages be?
So it will be 7, 5, 3, 2, almost 1 newborn. Or 1 and
Okay.
then newborn.
So,
Because she'll turn 1 before the baby's here.
all right. So the bottom three, there was like what, a 10, 11 month gap or something in there,
So
or a year or so.
so the newest one and then the baby will be will be 13 months, but 3 and 4 are 10 months. So they're Irish twins. Yeah. So we had 2 kids have their first Christmas the same year, not twins.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Morgan was born in February and then Mackenzie was born in December. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was
man.
nuts. It was nuts.
That's
But
wild.
that's the coaching story, man. And
Yeah.
it all started at SVU.
Yeah. Well, I remember you were, I mean, I wasn't there for it, but you were helping, you're an assistant with basketball, were you, at one point?
Yeah, yeah, I did that. I did that for 1 season with I was basically Greg's assistant is how
Okay.
we kind of coined it. I didn't work with Caputo as directly as much. So it was kind of like Caputo and then Winslow was like basically the associate head coach. And then I was basically Winslow's assistant. And then there was Jordan, who was like the team manager. Uh, that was so stressful, but it was so fun. It was
Yeah.
so fun. That was an awesome experience. I'm trying to think. So Kale was there, Dave was there. Um,
Aaron would have been there.
Aaron was there. Kevin was there. I think Jordan was still there.
I think so.
Trying to think who else. Kale, Dave. Oh, Aaron Nash. You remember Nasty Nash?
I didn't know him though.
You don't know him? Oh, Nasty Nash. I think he only played that year. Now that I'm thinking about it. Who else though? But yeah, it was a fun group. It was a fun group. It was an interesting experience because like, so I played my whole life up until high school, and then from there I just played like pickup or all of that. So when I went to Winslow and Caputo, they were like, "You didn't play in high school. Like, why do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I love basketball and I know basketball, and you need an assistant." So I did it for credit. I didn't get paid at all. I did it. I got 2 credits out of it, which was actually kind of nice because I had to
Yeah.
take one last class. So that was kind of cool.
Well, I mean, that's more than I would have expected, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Credits
I
for
was, when I went in and they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you 2 credits." I was like, "Okay." No, that's fine. Cause I was anticipating like a half credit or something like that. Like, we'll give you something towards your degree. But no, they were like, "Yeah, we'll make it a 2 credit internship." And I was like,
there you go.
"Score." Yeah. Don't have to pay for anything. Not going to get paid, but it's fine. So, and it was just me and Marissa at the time. We didn't have any kids. So yeah, it was great. It was great. It was a good time. Yeah.
Who do you
But
who do you have coming up on the show?
so let's see. Next week, well, I don't know about next week. I'm undecided. So probably what I'll do is I'm going to do another self episode where I do like a recap of the World Cup now that it's finished and everything. And then I've got a SVU. Well, he was a SVU soccer player. He just transferred to Rhode Island College. But we connected. I went out to, or we went out there in the spring before we moved to California. We went out in the spring, and me and the soccer coach now, Peyton Pemberton, we talk frequently. Um, I don't necessarily think I'd say that we're close, but we talk frequently. He was on the podcast too. He was the first guest. So yeah, Peyton's awesome. And I messaged him and I was like, "Look, I just got a job in California. Can I come watch one of your training sessions and just see how it is?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's fine." So I went up, and so it was spring ball. So there were like 14 guys. And but it was really, really just an awesome experience to see that. And so one of the guys that was there, he wants to be on in the next week or two. I've got a few buddies back in Arizona who want to be on as well. I've got one guy so when I got the job in California, he had just gotten fired. His story is a mess in the best way. He he coached for like 20 plus years, um, regional champions like 18 out of the 20 years that he coached. Just an incredible coach. Played in the MLS, um, and also a very very good guy. Very very faith driven. Um, but he and I are going to talk a lot about like the mental health aspect of the game and all of that. So really excited for that one. And I'm not name dropping because it's got to be a little bit of a surprise. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited for that one. We were gonna try and do it in June when it was men's mental health awareness. Um, but I've been thinking about it more, and I'm actually more glad that we didn't do it in June, so we can bring focus to it outside of June. Because that's something that for me drives me nuts is that we get 30 days of, so much focus on men's mental health, men's mental health, men's mental health. And then it feels like July 1st, it's like, okay, and
No
like
one cares anymore.
go, yeah, no one cares. Like go see a shrink or go dig a hole or so, like just go do something else. And so I'm excited to have his episode be outside of that focus, and hopefully with his network, hopefully we can get a lot more exposure to that. But that's another one. Um, I have a couple. So our award. So you were out here for a while, right?
Yes.
So our ward is, if I say Carterville Road, does that ring a bell to you at all?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay, no, that's fine. Um, Mo and I don't particularly fit in our ward, and I will explain why. Um, we walked into church, and I looked around, and I was like, "That's Danny Ainge. That's Taysom Hill." Like the people in our ward, it's unreal. So I'm hoping, right, that I can get some of these people. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his first name. He's the currently the assistant AD at BYU, is our stake president and in our ward. Um, his wife is Hall of Fame BYU volleyball player and our nursery leader. So we see her every Sunday, and our kids love her, which is great. I'm hoping something will work out there that we can get me a job or something. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the ward that we live in. So I took a risk. Hasn't paid off yet, but we'll see if it does. I know he's been super busy with summer league, but I was driving to the temple Tuesday morning, and like I said, I'm usually not on my phone while I'm driving, but I'm driving to the temple and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna send Danny Ainge a voice message because I can, because his number's in LDS tools. And so I did. I sent him like a 2-minute voice message that kind of explained who I was and why I haven't introduced myself yet, because I have 100 children and I have to pick them up after church. And we're just like, hey, if you want to be on the podcast sometime, let me know. And I'd love to do that. And he hasn't listened to it yet, but that's okay because he might someday. And Taysom Hill has a kid in nursery with our kids, so that might happen too. Um, but yeah, that's I don't know, man. I think about this podcast and like you asked, who have I got lined up for it? And right now it's all people that I know. It's all connections. It's all people that I've known for a while. And I think someday, yeah, it could be something where I'm calling a Danny Ainge and saying, "Hey, come be on the podcast for an hour, hour and a half. Just talk to about kids, talk about your experience." But for now, I'm just building stuff. I'm just building it up. Last week was Jake McMahon, one of my best friends. This week is you. 2 weeks ago was Court Cox. Like my SBU guys. That's who I'm getting right now. Kale is out here. I'm trying to get Kale on here, but he never checks his messages. So if you ever talk to Kale, tell him he's got to reach back out to me. But
And
yeah.
I don't even be able to remember who I am at the point.
No, it's all good. Yeah, Kale's out here, Aaron's out here. Purvis, Derek is out here now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they just moved out here. They're up in like the Draper area, I think. But
DD?
DD, yeah, DD, yeah, and it's been cool because so one of the other guys that I had on here is from Mo's home stake, and I knew him a little bit, Logan, and he was my first and only to this point in person one, and that was really cool to kind of experience that and the bugs that come with it and the cool things that come with it and all of that. So very long-winded answer to your question, but
No,
that's
no, it's all right.
who, yeah, that's who I have lined up and who I'm hoping to get lined up. So it's
Sure.
been awesome. It's been
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Well, good, man.
Yeah.
Glad I asked you on it.
No, yeah, I am too. It was really good to catch up with you and to talk about stuff and I'm glad that you're close, right? When you come up here, let us know. We've got an extra room and I don't know if you'd want to stay with us or not, but regardless, we'd want to see you for sure.
Of course, man. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. No, anything else?
No, other than I let me see real quick. Let me pull this up. Um, found you asked about the name of that biography.
Mm-hmm.
It's called "My Brother in Arms: The Exceptional Life of Mark Forrester" or Mark Andrew Forrester. So
Perfect.
yeah, I can actually, screenshot or something. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I
Had one of
will.
my had one of my favorite quotes of all time in there. They described him as uh I'm gonna get the exact words wrong, but it's something like He's incredibly kind, gentle, and compassionate, but utterly relentless in defending his principles. That is an excellent.
Yeah, that's Captain
So,
Moroni.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's
you know,
awesome.
this guy was out in the thick of it just like he was. So,
Yeah,
but
that's awesome. Thank you for finding that too. Yeah, I
of course,
will. We'll make sure to get a clip of that in there as well. Um, yeah. Okay, Bennett. Good talking with you. Good catching up. Again, seriously, let me know when you come up here, and we'll make something happen. Okay.
yeah, for sure. Make sure you edit out any of the stupid stuff I said. Would like it to be a clean, the little episode.
You got it. You got it. I will take nothing out.
All right,
All right. So this should be up Wednesday, and then you can tell me if I have to go post edit anymore. Okay.
cool. Sounds
All
good.
right. Appreciate it, Bennett.
Thank you,
Have a good
brother.
night.